What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Ballion, back with another episode of the Sports Pod. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk some Knicks hoops as they're gearing up for another playoff push. I'm going to talk the return of Mitchell Robinson, Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby Wingstop, what it was supposed to be, what it has been, and what it needs to be. In the playoffs, I'm going to talk the return of Jalen Brunson, and really just overall what the Knicks need to do to be ready for the postseason. I'll get into all of it on the other side of the intro. Hit it.
DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang!
Second strike. Got the wall. He jumps. It's gone. He did it. He did it. Pete Alonso with the most memorable home run of his career.
All right, getting into the episode, and I'm going to start with Jalen Brunson because his return for the Knicks is probably the biggest moment of the season. His health, his status, his ability to put the ball in the basket is really what the Knicks depend on. And I think we saw with this stretch that the Knicks need him a lot. Yes, they went 9-6. Yes, OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns were able to hold the ship afloat. But the Knicks need Jalen Brunson to make a deep playoff run. I know their depth has improved from last year, but Brunson is he's too big of a piece to be missing. He's too big of a key cog in the ignition to be absent come playoff time. Without Jalen Brunson, the Knicks have a chance at losing first round. Right now, it's shaping up for the Knicks to play the Pistons in round one. They'll be the 3 seed. The Pistons will be the 6. And I think the Pistons are feisty. I'll have an episode when the seeding is set, well, after the regular season ends, before the playoffs start, previewing that matchup. And maybe I'll do one previewing the entire NBA playoffs. But right now, the Pistons are feisty to me. I think they're going to be able to hang with the Knicks. I do think the Knicks will win, but it's definitely going to take 5 or 6 games. The only drawback I have with the Pistons is that they're too young. They don't have the maturity. They don't have the age. They don't have the veteran that when the times get tough, he'll hold the team accountable. He'll steady the ship. They don't have that. I mean, they have Evan Fournier on that team. They got Killian Hayes on that team. They have some veterans. It's just guys that aren't going to be able to keep the Pistons really in a close game with the Knicks. That's just the facts. The Knicks are a good basketball team. They won 50 games for the first time in back-to-back seasons for the first time since 1995. They are able to win games. It's just, are they going to be able to do it against the top teams? This is what I've been talking about all year. This has been the storyline all year, and they haven't been able to do it. 0-4 versus the Cavs. 0-2 versus the Thunder. 0-2 versus the Warriors, I think. They can't beat good teams. Winless against the Cavs. That's just the facts. They don't have the ability to do it. They haven't been able to do it at all this season. And it's just, I'm not going to hype myself up for a Knicks team that I don't think can win the finals. Like last year, I really believed the Knicks had a chance at going all the way and hoisting the Larry O'Brien trophy in the middle of June. This year, I don't think that's a possibility. I just don't think that will happen. And I think it'll be Celtics, Thunder. Those have been the two clear best teams all season. They don't seem to be affected by injuries too much as of now. I mean, the Thunder were for the majority of this year, whether it was Chet Holmgren, whether it was Alex Caruso, whether it was Jalen Williams for a couple games, but they have the depth to do it. If the Thunder made 2 rotations based on their team, mixing starters and bench players, they could have 2 separate teams that I think could be legit playoff teams. Say you pair SGA with Jalen Williams and Lou Dort, and then you throw some of their bench players in it. Maybe you throw Alex Caruso on that team, and then fill it with some other guys that are on the Thunder. I think that could be a playoff team. And then you have Chet Holmgren and Aaron is who's their final starter? Their other starter. I'm blanking on his name. That team could make the play. The remainder of the Thunder bench. That team could make the playoffs too. That's where the Thunder are so good with their depth. That's where they have a great head coach. They have a great front office. They have picks galore over the next 9-10 years. The Thunder are in such a prime spot to have a dynasty. It is not even funny right now. And for the people that say SGA is a free throw farmer, that all he does is get to the free throw line, no, he is not. He does not get to the free throw line as often as people give him flack for. SGA, yeah, he's one of the better players at getting to the free throw line, but it's not like he's there for the entirety of games like people say he is. That's just not the truth. All right, getting back to the Knicks and Jalen Brunson. What I saw out of him more in the game versus the Celtics, as the game went on and as it got to the fourth quarter to overtime, he was moving a little gingerly out there, which is something to keep an eye out for. Because with that ankle, that's a nagging injury. I always talk about the nagging injuries, the obliques in baseball, the ankles in basketball, the hamstring pulls in football. Injuries that'll keep you out for a couple weeks, but then even when you come back, they're still going to be ailing you. They're still going to be affecting your play. That's what I'm worried about with Jalen Brunson. When does he get back to full strength? When does Jalen Brunson get back to playing the Jalen Brunson we know and love? And I don't think it'll happen before the regular season ends. I think there will be a point in the playoffs where he hits his stride. Whether it's in game 2 or 3 in round 1, maybe it does happen before the regular season ends, or it doesn't happen before the second round. I do think Jalen will have that moment where he has a breakout game and he goes for 35, 40 points and he looks like the Jalen Brunson we know, and he gets back in the swing of things after missing 17 games with that ankle injury. And staying on the topic of those 17 games that Jalen missed, the Knicks were able to stay afloat. OG Anunoby stepped up. He was averaging like 27 points on 50% shooting from the field, 42% from deep. OG Anunoby stepped up in a huge way. And I had talked about we need to see what we have with OG. We need to see what we have with Mikal with Jalen Brunson out. We need those two guys to step up. We need those two guys to be key contributors, guys that are pivotal players every night, guys that are scoring and winning games for the Knicks. And that's what they did. More so OG Anunoby, but Mikal Bridges had probably his best stretch of the season. I mean, it started early in Portland where he hit that overtime game winner. He was averaging well above his season average during that time period. Mikal Bridges showed me that he has the ability to play better than he has been all year while Jalen Brunson was missing games. Now he's got to parlay that to when Jalen is playing basketball and when the Knicks are at full strength. He didn't help his case last night as he lost the ball out of bounds in overtime against the Celtics, but we traded 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges to see him in the playoffs. We didn't trade 5 firsts for Mikal for the regular season. We traded all those picks for him to do it in May and for him eventually to do it in June. The Knicks have at least one more year of Mikal Bridges. I would assume they're going to get some kind of contract extension done as they gave up 5 first-round picks for him. That's should be the first indicator. And also, Leon Rose has made smart moves. However, I don't think he's going to get the max contract that he was hoping for at the start of this year. His production hasn't been good enough thus far for him to sign a max contract. Like when OG Anunoby came to the Knicks last year, it was an immediate impact. The Knicks were electric in the month of January. They were well above 500. I think there was a point where they were 21-3 when OG Anunoby played basketball. They never lost multiple games in a row. All of last year when OG Anunoby played, he deserved that $240 million extension with what he did on the court. Mikal Bridges has not proved himself. Mikal Bridges hasn't done enough for me to say, okay, here's a max contract. I don't know what his max is, what the max the Knicks can pay him is, but I know it's going to be upwards of probably 150 million. It'll probably be closer to 200 million, if not more. But he hasn't deserved that, and he hasn't earned that. That's why the Knicks can't do that. But Mikal can prove himself if he does it in the playoffs, and that's where he hits his stride. That's where he plays his real best stretch of basketball, where he's averaging 20-plus points a game on 45% from three, on 50% from the field. That's where Mikal Bridges has to do it. And I think it's a possibility. All we need from Mikal Bridges in the playoffs is to stand in the corner and hit threes and lock down the opposing team's second best wing. OG Anunoby better be on the best wing, plain and simple. What he did on Tatum against the Celtics in their most recent matchup solidified it. I had been believing that all year, but that performance that he displayed, that performance that he had against the Celtics, that should be assigned to Tibbs. That should be, okay, I am the best defender on this team. Because a lot of the time, Mikal will start the game on the best guy, but in the second quarter, when the Knicks are already down, Tom Thibodeau will make this smart decision to move OG Anunoby onto the best guy. But it should be the whole game. If it doesn't start like that in the playoffs, I'm going to have a big problem, especially with the epidemic of head coaches, the whole slew. First, it was Chris Jenkins in Memphis. That's a 5 seed with their coach getting fired about 3 weeks before the season ends. And then just a couple of days ago, Michael Malone in Denver. He was fired with 3 games left in this season for the Nuggets. It makes no sense. The Nuggets are a playoff team. I get they lost 4 games in a row, and they're still battling for a playoff spot. But at the end of the day, what does this mean for Tom Thibodeau? From a Knicks perspective, these have to be the biggest games of his career. These have to be games where he's coaching for his job. There was a lot of skepticism around the fan base surrounding Tom Thibodeau's job security. Is he still safe? Is he elevating it to more of a hot seat now? I'm interested to see what happens after these playoffs. Like I said, I trust in Leon Rose. I trust in what Leon Rose will do with this franchise. And if he fires Tom Thibodeau after the Knicks have a bad playoff run, I might be able to get behind it. Tom Thibodeau, I don't think he's the best coach in the NBA. There's definitely better coaches. There's Joe Mazzulla in Boston. There's Kenny Atkinson over in Cleveland. I'm not even going to try to pronounce Oklahoma City's coach. It's Mark something that starts with a D and has a lot of letters in it. I apologize to you, but I can't pronounce your name. He's a great coach, though. Tom Thibodeau could be on the hot seat this summer. If this playoff run doesn't go to plan, is Tibbs safe? Or is it time to move on? In one of the episodes I did with a guest, I think it was the one I did with Chris McMonagle. You could go check that out. He made the parallel to Joe Girardi and the Yankees, where the Yankees realized this is as far as we're going to get with Girardi when they lost the ALCS back in 2016. They fired him and brought in Aaron Boone, and then last year they were in the World Series. Maybe Tom Thibodeau sets the Knicks up, which he has done pretty well. The Knicks are in a really good spot to succeed right now, but then they bring in a younger coach to finish the job, to bring the Knicks the rest of the way, to help the Knicks cross the finish line. Maybe that's what the Knicks need. I'm still sticking with Tibbs. I hate the idea of firing a coach after you're going to finish with a 3 seed this season, after you finish with the 2 seed last season, after you finish with the 4 seed the season before. I just can't get behind that idea, but I don't think I'm really knocking the idea. If they have a bad playoff run, I'm not going to be too super opposed to it. I'm still not going to love the idea, but I'm not going to hate it. All right, let me get to Mitchell Robinson, and then I'll talk about Karl Anthony Towns probably to wrap up this episode. Mitchell Robinson, since coming back, he's been pretty solid on defense. He's been what the Knicks want. He's that rebounder. He's that defensive force. He's that rim protector. But is he good enough to be in the starting lineup? He's not in the starting lineup right now, and I want to discuss, should he be in the starting lineup? Should he take Josh Hart's job? Josh Hart deserves to be a starter in my opinion, but there's some matchups where I feel that the Knicks need to sub Robinson into that starting lineup just based on the size and the matchups. I also don't mind the idea of Hart coming off the bench because that's what he did last year, and the Knicks bench definitely needs a kick. They need a jolt, and Josh Hart will provide that. He'll provide the energy off the bench. We already have two high energy guys in Deuce McBride and campaign. But Josh Hart will provide the rebounding and the coast-to-coast effort and the three-point shooting every once in a while. He can take over a game offensively when he's hot. I think that might be better coming off the bench. Ty Lue did it for a long time with the Clippers. And I'm not saying Josh Hart is as good as Ty Lue. I don't think he is. I'm just saying Josh Hart can play that role. I wouldn't make that change with 3 games left in the season. But next year, that might be something Tibbs or whatever head coach the Knicks might have to consider. Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns have meshed really well when they've been on the court together. When it's been a cat and bench lineup where it's Karl Anthony Towns, it's Mitchell Robinson, it's Deuce McBride, it's Campaign, it's Landry Shamet. I also think DeLon Wright should be playing the Landry Shamet minutes. DeLon Wright really showed me he can compete on an NBA level in those handful of games he played while Brunson and Deuce and Campaign were all missing. I think DeLon Wright could be a contributing piece, at least for the remainder of the regular season. Because we all know the rotation is going to be chopped down once we hit the playoffs. But for these final 3 games, I would like to see Wright out there. Why not give him some run? You're pretty much locked into the 3 seed. You probably, I don't know the exact scenario, you probably just need 1 win. Something like that. They're in the driver's seat for the 3 seed, is the point I'm trying to make. I would try Wright. Maybe he pops off. Maybe he has a 25, 30-point performance off the bench where he's just lacing triples. He's a tenacious defender and a player I think can contribute on the Knicks maybe next season. And that's the other aspect. This isn't a 1-year process. The Knicks are really in year 2 of this. Once they traded for OG, that's when I opened the championship window because that's when they got to a point where they were firing on all cylinders and they were winning night in and night out. That's when Jalen Brunson went on that stretch where he was scoring about 35, 40 points a night last season. He got his first All-Star appearance in that stretch. That's where I opened the window for the Knicks. This is really the first full season of it. And I would say they have at least 2 more years, maybe a third, depending on what happens with Mikal Bridges and what happens with Jalen, what happens with Cat, just the other guys on this team. Jalen has his contract. It'll kick in next year, I believe. So we'll have 4 more years of Jalen after this one. And then Karl Anthony Towns, I think, also signed a 4-year extension either before this year or before last year. So we either have 3 or 4 more years of Karl Anthony Towns. So for the Knicks, as they gear up for this playoff run, the keys are going to be, what are you getting out of Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby? How is Jalen Brunson moving on that ankle? And what kind of production are you getting out of the bench? Because the Knicks can't just throw the bench to the wayside in the playoffs. Those guys do need to play real minutes, and those guys need to score. It can't be all Jalen Brunson again. Yeah, Jalen and Cat are going to score about 30 a night. One of the two is going to score 30 a night. But you can't get like 8 or 9 bench points in a playoff series. You can't be getting that consistently. If it happens one night, okay. But you're not going to be able to succeed with the bench doing absolutely zero. So those are the 3 key factors. Jalen, Wingstop, and the bench. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, follow, share it with a friend. I really appreciate it. Also, go check out all my socials in the description below. Instagram, TikTok. I'm posting a ton of content over there. Also, leave me a voicemail with your sports questions and takes at 848-305-8073. And last but not least, make sure you keep it locked with the Sports Pod.